गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरु साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री Gurave Namaha. We are in Pancadasi, chapter 11, verse 21. And here we saw the topic is going on. The topic is Brahmananda Yogananda. And here the example of Narad Muni, who was well versed in all the scriptures and yet did not have happiness in his heart. He felt discontented even after having mastered all the various knowledges, vidyas. And he approached his elder brothers, his teacher, Sanat Kumaras. And they are telling that the happiness is not in the worldly objects or the names and forms, the possessions, the relations. It is not in there. Why? So, the nature of the Vishaya Sukham, the happiness born out of the enjoyment of the worldly objects. Why? So, this is the answer, the 21st verse. Sukham Vaishayikam Shoka Sahasrena Vrutatvataha Dukhameveti Matvaha Nalpesti Sukhamityasau. Did we do this verse last week?
Yes.
We did.
A little bit.
Okay, we chanted it, right?
Yeah.
So the joy gained from the objective indulgences being associated with many miseries is called sorrow. Knowing this, Sanat Kumaras declared that there is no happiness in the finite. See, how do we experience the finite?
Body.
No. No.
Which ends,
No, I said, how do we experience the finite, the limited, the conditioned? By, not just senses, you can have dream also. So you can have thought also. So how do you, there must be an experiencer, there must be an experienced, and there must be an knowledge of that experience taking place, isn't it? The knowledge. So these three, like these three, they are supporting each other. Because they are supporting each other doesn't mean that it will, because they themselves are limited by each other. They are conditioned by each other. The experience is conditioned by the knowledge and the object. The object is conditioned by the knower and the knowledge is conditioned by the knower and the object known. So, they themselves are conditioned, they are themselves limited, they themselves are not complete. How can they give you unconditioned happiness? See, this is not how it is written here, but I am giving you another take on it. And here Swamiji has said that the anomalies that go into giving an experience. See, you may be enjoying a chocolate the first time you eat, but by the time you eat the 10th, 15th chocolate, you are ready to puke. You may enjoy the beautiful scenery. You may enjoy the beautiful scenery the first time you see it, but you go there. I go to Hobart so many times. First few times, oh, how wonderful, how wonderful. Oh, the house is on the. आ जाओ कर बैठने दो. The house is on the river. On the other side is the casino. You can see the mountain, Mount Wellington, beautiful. After having gone few times, don't even look at it, isn't it? So where's that joy gone? which was there in the first time. So it is all relative. That joy, that sukh, which comes and goes, which is relative, which is conditioned, cannot be the bliss. Cannot be the bliss. And this is what is told here. Happiness is no doubt derived from the contacts of the sense organs with the sense objects. But what is the nature of this sukham? It is accompanied by thousands of miseries. If the joy is, I gave you an example of food, take marriage, take having a child, giving birth to a child. We go through, we want some joy. That's why we are getting married or having a child. But after that, are you at the same level of happiness when you, the first day of the marriage or when you conceive the child? Is it the same joy throughout your life? Ask yourself. Don't just take it for because someone has said it. Let it be your experience. You analyze your life. And why? How can the joy which is mixed with afflictions be called sukham? How can that joy, how can that relative happiness, which is having a sprinkling of misery every now and then, how can that be called as bliss? It cannot be called as bliss. It is only sorrow. There is no real happiness in the enjoyment of worldly objects, because you cannot hold any object. You can't even hold your body. You can't hold your breath, you can't hold your emotions, you can't hold on to your thoughts, concepts, ideas. Whether you like it or not, they keep flowing away from you. They come from somewhere, they go somewhere, and you idiot are identified. You think you are identified, but actually speaking, you cannot identify also. And this imagined identification is creating this imagined misery, and we say that is sukham. This is our lot. Iti matva asau alpe sukham na asti iti aha. Knowing this, it can be concluded that this kind of worldly happiness is finite. It is limited, it is conditioned, it is not complete. It is incomplete. Therefore, Jnaneshwar Maharaj in his Amrut Anubhav, he doesn't say there is ignorance. He says his definition of ignorance is incomplete knowledge. He doesn't talk about ignorance. He says incomplete knowledge. Vishaya Sukham is limited. Now he gives certain factors which determine our experience of joy that we gain from the objects of the world. And what are they? The first one is the presence and absence of the object. One moment you enjoy the presence of the cat, and then in the middle of the satsang, if that same cat comes, you're disturbed, isn't it? One moment you are enjoying the rain because it hasn't rained for too long, and if it rains continuously for 2-3 days, my God, when the sun will come out. This is our joy. This is not joy. So, our presence and absence of the object. Second, availability of the object for enjoyment. You may want the availability of the object for enjoyment. This is like someone, like a child, he can see a chocolate but he cannot eat it because mom is not allowing. You want to get married to a girl but she's saying no. This is that. So inside, looking at her, lot of joy is coming, excitement is coming. But there is a no from the other side. Third reason, capacity of the enjoyer to enjoy the object. Capacity of the enjoyer to enjoy the object. See, here I'll tell you, Those people who follow the Kundalini path and all, I have given this example before. Came across this girl. She was doing some Kundalini Abhyas and her Kundalini rose. But it rose like a lightning. And because she was pushing. When we push without having the ability to handle the energy. Suppose you go to the gym and you lift. Oh, I want to lift. I want to build up muscles. I want to weigh. I want to be able to pick up 100 kgs. And first day you go, second day you go, and you start lifting 100 kgs. What will happen to you? You will never be able to lift any weight for the rest of your life. You will damage your shoulders. You will damage your joints. First time you may do it out of sheer will, but second time you will not be able to lift it. Exactly the same thing happened to her. She pushed, and the Kundalini rose without any purification, and she became brain dead. It just fizzled. Like you saute the whole, जैसे पकोड़ा बनाते हैं ना, तो the whole brain became pakoda. Still living as a vegetable in the hospital, in Adelaide, still today. Young girl, 27-year-old, 26-year-old. So do we have the capacity? See, there are two things. One is readiness and one is ability. If you are ready to achieve something in life, you must be capable, you must be able also. Merely, I am ready to lift 100 kgs, but I don't have the ability to lift 100 kgs, it will damage you. I want to have the Kundalini experience, but you have not purified your system, you have not cleaned up your system, you have not understood what is involved in the whole thing, and it will burn you away. I want to enjoy the world, but have you learned the tricks and the rules by which you can interact with the world? Are you able? And that is why we keep burning every time we touch the world. Electricity bills, the government, the coals and the safe. Every time we come out, there is a complaint. We are never happy. Oh, the prices have gone up. Why the prices have gone up? This is how they are burning you. But do you say do you complain like this again and again? Oh, the fire is hot. Oh, the fire is hot. No, you know the fire is hot and you have learned and disciplined yourself and made yourself understand and made yourself capable to deal with that fire which can burn. Have you learned the tricks of the trade, how to deal with the world? Isn't it? So for that, alertness is required. Not just jump into it and start, no, the world gives us joy. You will burn. And if you think you are not burning, then don't complain. If there is even one single complaint with respect to the world, we have given value to the world, we have interacted wrongly with the world, and therefore we cannot say that we are experiencing bliss from the world. The conclusion is the bliss. The topic is not whether world is of the nature of burning or not. In conclusion is that the world can be experienced only through this Triputi, the triad, knower, known, knowing, and all these, how many? We are told, presence and absence of the objects, availability of the objects for enjoyment, capacity of the knower to enjoy the objects, this was the ability we were talking about just now, and lastly, the mood of the enjoyer to enjoy the object. Isn't it? Sometimes everything is there and yet you are not happy, you are not in the mood to, oh, you love the ice cream, but I am not in the mood. Oh, let's go for a drive. I am not in the mood. Let's go for a movie. I am not in the mood. Let's go to satsang. I am not in the mood. Why? Oh, it's then we give reasons, justifications. It's raining. Thinking itself, I have wasted 5 minutes. Now I will be reaching there 5 minutes late. So might as well drop it. 100 reasons. So mood. So all these different factors come in, and because of which we are not able to experience the world of objects as a source of bliss. A doubt is raised now. So said the sage Sanat Kumaras. In technical terms, the limitation is of the nature of divided existence in the form of the triputi of the enjoyer, enjoyed, and enjoyment. When each member of the triputi is dependent on the other two, in this limitation there can be no bliss. Because they are themselves dependent. How can something which is dependent be of the nature of bliss, which is of the nature of independence, which is the nature of freedom, which is of the nature of contentment? Volume 5. गलत लिखा है. A doubt is raised now. Granted that there is no happiness in duality, is there any guarantee that it is available in non-duality? ननु द्वैते सुखम मा भूत, ननु द्वैते सुखम मा भूत, अद्वैतेऽप्यस्ति नो सुखम, अद्वैतेऽप्यस्ति नो सुखम, अस्ति चेद उपलभ्येत, अस्ति चेद उपलभ्येत, तथा च त्रिपुटी भवेत्, तथा च त्रिपुटी भवेत्. A doubt is raised by the student, and he says, let there be no happiness in duality. There is no happiness in non-duality also, because it is not experienced. If one says that there is non-dual experience possible, that will result in the trio of duality. Did you ever think of this question? He says, let there be no duality, no happiness in the duality. That is in the world of objects or whatever is experienced, we accept. But our conclusion is, the student is saying that even in non-duality there is no experience of happiness. Why? Because if you experience happiness, then again there is an experiencer and experience, so it is not possible. Huh? Because if there is real bliss in Advaita, then it should be available, and if it is available, then the Triputi comes into existence. And because there is no Triputi, there is no knower, no knowledge or knowing, so who will experience the bliss? Who will experience the bliss? And therefore, there is no bliss. You know the answer to this question?
Yeah, that you can't experience. It is. The bliss is not experienceable.
That's what the student is saying. That if it is experienced, then the knower, no knowing will come. If knower, no knowing will come, then the bliss which you experienced of Advait, of the reality, that will also be limited. And because in reality, in Advait, the Triputi is not present, so there is no one to experience there.
This is a question raised by the mind.
This
Mind cannot
good,
understand.
good. So here the student, you take it as mind. We'll look at the logic, but the answer will be, what will be the conclusion?
Bliss cannot be experienced.
Then it is, then what are we
bliss.
studying for?
Yeah.
What is the conclusion that we want to come to then?
Experience is something about worldly nature, isn't it?
Then they say the truth is Satchit Ananda.
Yes.
What's the point of saying all that?
That is That is a different kind of
Kind of bliss? Come on.
no, experience.
But then
It is not an experience. It is
Only when the mind dissolves,
uh,
it can be.
so, Chitra,
There's no one there.
there's no one there, so that means you cannot experience. So then the student is right.
There's no experience. They're all in one. The experiencer, experienced, and the experience are all merged, and there is no separate identity, no ego as such. The ego is.
You accepted what you are saying is he also is saying that the Triputi is not there.
yes.
Therefore, he is saying the bliss cannot be experienced.
Yeah.
True.
By the mind.
By
No, he's not saying by the mind. He's saying bliss cannot be experienced. Okay, you can say it by the mind.
It is bliss. It's not experience.
Then how will you counteract if someone came with this doubt to you? How would you answer that person? Suppose the mind is speaking to you in this manner and you are aware that this is the question, then how will you answer?
Bliss is a natural state.
Fantastic! Thank you, sir. The nature of the self itself is bliss.
So what is there to experience?
Nature. Don't think knower, known, knowing is ever going to give you bliss. It will give you different gradients of joy, but it can never give you bliss. And that gradient of joy, whether it is worldly joy, whether it is savikalpa samadhi, nirvikalpa samadhi, but out of nirvikalpa samadhi also you have to come out. So it is only relative. Isn't it? So when you come out, then what is the feeling? Why did I come out? I want to go be there 24 hours a day, So that is the sorrow that you are experiencing, and that sorrow again propels you to sit down again for meditation. So you go again into the samadhi, isn't it? So there also coming and going is there. But when as long as the Triputi is there, the triad is there, there will be coming and going. There will be experiencing a joy, it will be replaced with sorrow, then the sorrow will be replaced by joy, then the joy will be replaced by sorrow. But when Triputi is absent, then will there be any sorrow?
this alone is.
Will there be any sorrow? There will be no sorrow. Absence of sorrow is equal to bliss. Absence of sorrow is equal to bliss. And therefore we know. And that is our nature. Keep that in mind, and then as we now a little bit of understanding. For whom? For the mind. So that it stops its continuous obsession with this world of objects to gain happiness. Its continuous obsession with the relations and possessions in order to gain happiness. The reason it is not turning inwards is only because it is convinced somewhere in its depths that world is real and I can control the world, and that I can be a master of the world, that I can get the joy from the world. Mind cannot control the world. The world is coming of its own accord, going of its own accord. Thoughts are coming of their own accord, going of their own accord. Isn't it? That thing which you disliked once upon a time, today you like. That which you liked once upon a time, today you dislike. So where's the logic? This is the logic of the world, that there is no logic. So this mind needs to get convinced that what it is searching for is beyond its realm of understanding. See, the entire scriptural knowledge the entire dialogue, communication, self-communication, even on the seat of meditation, it's not for the self. It's not for the reality. It's not for making realization happen. Realization never happens. It already is. Then what are we studying all this for? Then what are we studying all this for?
For the mind.
For
The mind.
re-educating the mind. It is only for so that it comes out of the way. See? So we are on verse. We chanted 23? No.
22.
The teacher replies to this doubt, Mastvad-dvaite sukham kintu, Mastvad-dvaite sukham kintu, Sukham advaitamevahi, Kim manamiti chennasti, Manakanksha swayam prabhe. Let there be no happiness in the non-duality, because the non-dual itself is happiness. It is itself, as he said, the nature of non-duality, where there are no distinctions, where there is no sense of otherness, there is no differences, where there is no duality, therefore it is called non-duality, which is equal to self, which is equal to reality, which is equal to divinity. So here it says, let there be no happiness in non-duality, because the non-dual itself is of the nature of happiness. On what authority of means of knowledge is this statement made? If this is asked, our reply is, there is no need of any means of knowledge for the self-effulgent. See? There is no means of knowledge. There is no praman. There is no other source of knowledge whose help we require in order to establish that non-duality is of the nature of bliss. It is self-effulgent, it is self-knowing. That which is self-knowing, that which is self-effulgent, that which is illuminating itself by itself. Very important. All the objects of the world, that means everything that is not self, there is an illuminator and they are the illumined. The thoughts are illumined, the concepts are illumined, the emotions are illumined, the breath is illumined, the body is illumined, the senses are illumined, the objects of the world are illumined, isn't it? Who is this illuminator? He is self-illumined. There is no other source of light which can illuminate this non-dual self. Recognize this about yourself. Nobody can say you are not. You say, oh, are you crazy? You are not. I am. See? Even if you don't say I am, still you are, isn't it? That is self-illumination. So you don't need the support of thoughts in order to establish your presence. Come to this conclusion once and for all in your life. You do not need the support of thoughts to establish your presence. Thoughts need the presence of the illuminator or the knower or the witness in order to become known. Self does not need. So when we say mind cannot know it, you are in the mind. You are thinking you are the mind. Therefore you are not able to make that distinction. Who is illuminating that mind cannot know it, this statement? Isn't it? So in this way, Ma astu advaite sukham, let there be no sukham in advaitam, kintu advaitam sukham eva hi, because the advaita tattva, the essence itself is sukha swarupam, it is of the nature of happiness. That which is the nature, just like the nature of the sun is heat and light, and if you ask the sun, thank you for heat and light, he doesn't know what is heat and light because it is his nature. It is not something which has been superimposed on the sun. Similarly, you thank you water for being wet. Thank you fire for being hot. Thank you earth for giving us so wonderful fragrance. They don't know what it means. What are you blabbering about? Because that is their nature, isn't it? So what is your nature? Ananda Swarupam. Satchit Ananda Swarupam. Establish this once and for all. And that's why we keep studying Pancadasi over and over again. Because so succinctly it has been presented that no iota of doubt is left. You want some water? Go and get some. Okay? Enough saliva. Now a doubt is raised. The teacher himself is imagining the doubt. Kim manam iti chet. What is the authority or pramanam for saying that Advaita is Sukha Swarupa? If the student may ask, what is the proof? How did you establish that this self is of the nature of happiness? How did you prove it? How do you prove it? That which is self-effulgent does not depend upon any authority or means of knowledge to prove its existence. It is self-evident. No authority is required to prove that the sun has heat and light. There is no proof required that the space accommodates the whole universe. Do you need proof? Can you prove it? Can you prove it? How can the effect prove the cause? How can the effect prove the cause? We are all here because of the space. How can you prove the space is accommodative? If you take that standpoint. See? So in this way, the discussion follows on this statement. Swaprabhatve bhavadvakyam. Swaprabhatve bhavadvakyam. Manam yasmad bhavanidam. Manam yasmad bhavanidam. Advaitam abhyupetyasmin. Advaitam abhyupetyasmin. Sukham nasti ti bhashate. He says, your own words are the means of knowledge regarding the self-effulgence of the bliss of Brahman, because your good self has accepted the bliss of the non-dual Brahman and also object that there is no happiness in non-dual. Is just the way the debaters debate and argue. They take each sentence of, so here the teacher is taking what the student or the doubter has said, he is taking that and analyzing it. That's all there is to it. For establishing the Advaita Tattva is Swam Prakasha, self-existing, self-effulgent. You yourself said a little while ago that you accept that there is Sukham in Advaita. Is this the correct one? Yeah. That there is Sukham in Advaita. And now you yourself say quite the opposite, there is no Sukham in Advaita. You are contradicting yourself. So the student, he is also not, he wo bhi pakka hai. He says, I was just quoting what you had said. So he says, नाभ्युपैम्यहमद्वैतम् नाभ्युपैम्यहमद्वैतम् तत् त्वद्वचोनूद्य दूषणम् त्वद्वचोनूद्य दूषणम् वच्मीति चेत्तदा ब्रूहि चेत्तदा ब्रूहि किमासीद्वैततः पुरा किमासीद्वैततः पुरा. The student says, I did not accept non-dual bliss. I was just quoting you for pointing out the fallacy in your statement. If this is your argument, now the teacher replies, then what was there before the duality? Please tell. This is the way we must talk to our mind, not to someone else. Forget about someone else. Here, the doubter is the mind. Aham advaitam na abhyupaimi tad vachah dushanam anudya iti chet. The student says, I have not accepted Advaita as the source of bliss yet. I should add. I was only referring to your statement for the sake of the discussion to refuse it. There was some fallacy in your statement and I was referring to that fallacy. The teacher says, Tada dvaitataha pura kim asit. The teacher very simply says, if you say that in Advaitam there is no bliss, then if this is what you meant, then I ask you another question. What existed before the Dvaita came into existence? Before duality came about, what was there? Please tell me. Because somehow, see, this habit of objectification is a very, very deep problem. You have to operate to take out cancer. You cannot wish it away. So you have to operate on your mind. This is your operation. All the 15 chapters. Because he is not ready to fall back into himself. Everything is at the level of mind. He is not catching. It's not clicking with him. And therefore questions, clarity. Swaprabhavatve bhavat vakyam mananam. For establishing that the Advaita Tattva is Swam Prakasha. No, we did that, no? The student says, I have not accepted Advaita as the source of bliss. I was only referring to your statement for the sake of the discussion. To refuse it, there was some fallacy in your statement and I was referring to that fallacy. So the teacher says, please tell me, my friend, what was there before Dvaitam? What will the student say? No answer. Looking at the face of the teacher, this is not given in the verses. So the teacher says, I'll tell you what was there. I'll give you some options. You tell me which of the options works there. Because I know you are not that, tuned in. Now the teacher presents three alternatives of what could have existed before Dvaita was born. See, this is the way. Have you ever thought that when you wake up, before the duality of the world becomes present to you, becomes available to you, what was there before? Have you ever inquired? So here the three options are given. Kimadvaitamutadvaitam Dvaitam Anyo va kotirantimaha Aprasiddho nadvitiyo Anutpatte shishyate grimaha. Before creation, was there, first option, was there non-dual Brahman, duality, or anything other than these two? So, What are the three options? Was there non-dual reality, the absolute reality, the Paramatma, the divinity, whatever, whichever name you give it. So first option is non-dual reality, second option is duality, before duality, or third option, something other than these two. If you really inquire into your own experience, it cannot be other than these three options. Cannot be other than these three options. So he says, as regards the third option, something other than these two, we just throw it up because we don't know what it is, so there's no point talking about it. Agree? Then he says the last alternative is not possible because it is unknown. The second alternative is not possible because creation has not yet taken place, hence there can be no duality. Because the multiplicity or the duality then appearing as multiplicity, it hasn't begun. So how can there be duality before duality? It's cancelling itself. Ultimately, one has to accept what remains is the first alternative, which is non-dual reality. Back to the same thing. But now don't just appreciate it logically. While listening to it right now, while you are contemplating on it as we are going through, understand we are talking about the self within. And remember it. Every day we are given an opportunity to recognize this statement. We wake up in the morning, the world becomes present. What was there before that? Was there duality? Was there duality? Was there something other than duality? An unknown? That word unknown is also equal to good. Ignorance is equal to shunyatva, is equal to nothingness, is equal to emptiness, is equal to void, is equal to unknown. This unknown we are bypassing. Don't go into that area. This is the beauty of Advaita thought, which has been presented by our scriptures and expounded by Adi Shankaracharya, and here by our Vidyaranya Swami.
The Buddhism went into Sunya and this.
Whatever, what Buddha experienced was also this.
Nirvana.
Was also this. But because it cannot be talked about, he talked about it as Shunyam. I don't know what they teach. I have not studied any Buddhist text, so I don't know. Because they are caught up into birth, rebirth, world is dukkham, so you perfect yourself in this, you have to be in, all those things. And then they look for the Dalai Lama, and they look for the Panchen Lama, and they look for the Rinpoches. They are into rebirth, to present day. But I am no authority on that. So the teacher says, before the creation, that is before the Dvaita appeared, what are the three options? Was there Advaita Tattva? Was there Dvaitam? Or can there be a third possibility? Dvaita Dvitiyana. If we say before creation duality, there was duality, that is absurd. In that case, we are not talking about before duality but in duality. See, we cannot talk about before duality. In duality you are talking about duality, that before duality there was duality. How can it be? The second alternative also is not possible. Antima koti aprasiddhaha. The third and last alternative is not known, and so cannot be possible. So what is that third alternative? the unknown. So out of nothing everything has come. We sometimes say, out of deep sleep, waking and dream has come. But it is only at that level, huh? It is only at the beginning stages, so that because you cannot think about the absolute unmanifest, so we talk about the relative unmanifest, out of which manifest has come out. You understand? What we have to do is, while living, recognize that there is nothing called a relative unmanifest, there is only absolute unmanifest. Therefore, before creation, the first alternative, namely Advaitam, was the only tattva that existed. In this way, the teacher is trying to bring the student to realize that Advaita tattva alone is blissful, is of the nature of absolute happiness. Still, the student is not convinced. He wants to remove. He has been asking questions for chapter 1. Now he's reached chapter 11. But the quality of questions are becoming subtler and subtler and subtler. Now he's not into existence. He's not into about how the space, air, fire, water, earth came. He's not about the basics is over now. Now he's into Satchidananda. The Ananda Mimamsa. These last 5 chapters are Ananda Mimamsa. Now the student raises another objection. You seem to be establishing the Advaitam only by logic. That which is established by logic falls in the purview of Dvaitam and not Advaitam. What do you say? So why you are studying?
We are still existing in duality. Our mind is existing in duality.
But the self is available right here and now. It cannot be become available. The topic is not about logic. The topic is not about understanding. The topic is about you recognizing yourself not after some time, after the class is over and you go home and you contemplate. No, you are here to recognize that you are the one right here and now, in spite of the satsang that is going on. So don't postpone it. If you postpone it, you lost the opportunity. Then I'll have to do another round of Pancadasi. Advaita siddhir yuktiyaiva. Yuktiyaiva. Nanubhutyeti chedvada. Nanubhutyeti chedvada. Nirdrishtanta sadrishtanta. Vakotyantara matrano. The establishment of non-dual Brahman is by the strength of logic alone and not by experience. When argued thus, so this is the argument of the student, that you are talking only logic, logic, logic. The establishment of non-dual Brahman is by the strength of logic alone and not by experience. When argued in this way by the student, the teacher replies, please tell us whether your conclusion is based on any example or is without any logical example. There cannot be any third alternative in this case. Third alternative, is it Advaitam, is it Dvaitam, or is it an unknown? If you have another option, please tell. And if the student is saying that you are only talking about logic, is he right or wrong? I am asking.
How?
I am asking.
No.
He's establishing beyond doubt. So
No. The student is saying you are only establishing truth, the self,
Okay.
only by logic but not by experience.
yeah,
It is by
that's
experience
yeah,
also, but he's not able to experience it. The illuminator is there, so if you're experiencing happiness, that is being illuminated by something which is made of happiness.
It's only logic.
How can you come to know that?
It's like the eye seeing everything
Can the
else
sun
but
come?
you.
Can the sun come to know heat and light?
No.
So, if you are of the nature of happiness, can you come to know happiness?
No.
Which is your nature as the self?
But it's a mind that is asking the question.
Correct.
Is it like the question of the eyes wanting to see itself? It can never see itself. But when the eyes are saying, how do you know that the eyes,
The eyes are there.
Eyes are there. It is like it sees everything else. The fact that it is seeing everything itself and the next
Is the conclusion that it is there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And logic or otherwise is not required.
But then, for the eyes, there is something else to see. For the Advait Tattva, is there anything else to see?
No.
So that example is
It's
absolute there.
limited.
It's not limited, it's absolute. It doesn't work there.
I think he's doing by logic because that you can't explain how he experienced. So
But
it has to be
the
logic.
experience of the self, the Advaita Tattva,
Yes.
the experience
explain
of non-duality is beyond explanation.
That's right. You can't.
It's beyond
explain-
logic.
Yeah. So
Beyond logic and beyond explanation because there
yeah,
is-
but that in order to explain that he's going through logic,
but he
So
doesn't
that,
have
so
it.
that, so that,
so that the student can understand it.
but it cannot be, the self cannot be understood.
To
Yes,
recognize
that's why the
it.
student was asking. that he's
Yes,
going
because
through-
the student, it is impossible for the student to understand the self.
Yes. Yeah. And also.
So therefore he is saying that you are only talking about the self as logic but not as an experience.
Yes.
In deep sleep, the experience is there. So there is no duality, but there is experience of joy. As
Logic and other things will only work if there is duality. If there is no duality, who is explaining to whom? It is all the one the same. There is only a question of recognition. And
Correct,
being there.
correct. This whole dialogue is going on in the mind. Is going on in the mind. One aspect of the mind is the teacher, one aspect of the mind is the student. Sattvic mind is the teacher, confused mind is the student. And that teacher mind is explaining
To the confused mind.
to the confused mind. But if we take only that much, that the teacher is only an aspect of the mind, then teacher cannot talk about that
Beyond.
which is beyond the mind.
Yes.
You understand? So we have to understand that this teacher, this I, is the teacher. It essentially is the self alone. It essentially is the self alone. And he is trying to teach the mind, the confused mind, that as long as you will keep questioning, as long as you will keep seeking, you will never get there. You will not get there. As long as your attention is on thoughts, as long as your attention is on the logic, as long as your attention is on experience, you cannot establish the self. Why? Even while all this is going on, the self is still existing. And that you are, and the student is not able to take that jump, is not able to go beyond the mind. And therefore, these different approaches over the various chapters, and within chapters, so many different examples, so that we get out of the mind. At least we intuit that I am. So here, in this one, he says that Advaita Siddhi Yuktya eva na anubhutya iti chet The question is, the establishment of non-dual Brahman which you have presented logically does not prove the experience of Advaita Siddhi, does not prove logic is not equal to experience. Simple as that. Correct? Our Upanishads also say, we indicate, we cannot present you the truth. We only indicate the truth. We tell you, go in this direction. Sadrishtantah nirdrishtantah va replies, the teacher replies, if this is your argument, tell me, your logic seems very peculiar because it is not supported by any example nor with any simile. I asked you a question, what was before duality? You could not answer. I gave you 3 options. And then we went through that process that there is no, unknown cannot be one option. Duality cannot be an option because then we are talking in duality only. Then what is left?
Non-dual.
What is left is the reality, is the non-dual reality. So he says, have you given me any example that the logic is not leading to any example, or that it is not possible to experience it? So he says that it's not supported by any example nor with any simile. Atra kotyantaram no, nor is there any third possibility. The essential requirement in the establishment of logic is that it should be supported by an example in such a way that whatever is logically arrived at is proved. You do not seem to understand the language of logic. So he's not trying to undermine the student. Don't, because if he tried to undermine, he wouldn't have given so 14 chapters before, It must be a sincere student. That sincerity of the student is prompting him to delve deeper and deeper, so that he is dissecting his mind, he is dissecting his thoughts, he is dissecting his own logic, so that he can come to, he wants to catch it in the mind, and it is not possible to, it is not clicking to him that he may understand that it is not possible to catch by the mind. But how? Again the question is how? Then what do I do if it is not possible? This disposition makes the student keep thinking.
It's like looking for the 10th person.
Looking for the 10th person, right? That example came in one of the chapters.
So but why didn't the Guru give that example? He could have easily...
Where?
Yeah. He could
Because
have...
here we are not talking about an objective person. And see the beauty of the teacher. He's got n number of examples up his sleeve. Which one will click to the student? You don't know. You can't repeat the same example all the time. The teacher continues in the same sarcastic vein. Nanubhutirna drishtanta iti yuktistu shobhate. Iti yuktistu shobhate. Sadrishtantatva pakshetu. Drishtantam vadame matam. The non-duality is proved by the strength of logic only and not by experience. You understand that statement? We'll talk about it. The non-duality is proved by the strength of logic only and not by experience, because once you experience, there is no need to talk about it. Can you explain to someone who has never tasted sweetness and you have tasted sweetness, can you explain him that sweet is like this, and you write a whole PhD and you give him lecture after lecture after lecture upon what sweetness is? Will you be ever able to convince him what sweetness is? Can you ever make him understand what sweetness is? Till he does not taste the sweetness himself. Once he's tasted it, is there any need to speak about it? There'll be only smile on both your faces, isn't it? Now you understand what sweet is? Then why did you break my head for? Why, teacher, why didn't you give me the sweet in the first instance itself? Because the student was not ready to put it into his mouth. He wanted to understand everything before he puts it. He wanted to he wanted to know what it is. And that is not possible. You cannot know anything without having an experience of it. And here the teacher is saying in this 28th verse that non-duality is proved by the strength of logic only. Can you prove there is space? Can you prove there is space? Answer.
Only by
By putting things.
Can you prove ignorance? I'm asking questions, keep thinking. Can you prove space? Can you prove ignorance? Can you prove emptiness?
Oh, no.
By opposite, yes.
Cannot.
No, we cannot.
Because they are existing in their own absence. That which is absent, just because we have coined a word nothingness doesn't mean there is an object called nothingness. Because we have coined a word called ignorance, it does not mean there is an object called ignorance. And mind only functions on object. It needs to on concepts. Ignorance is not a concept. It is a concept, but what is that concept? That it is not. So if you can accept ignorance, if you can accept emptiness, you can accept nothingness, you can accept void, you can accept space without having ever experienced it. Why can't you why can't you accept the Advait? See, this is the point. If you have never experienced the... Anyway, I'll stop here because this thought will come afterwards. I'm going ahead. Exactly the same thing he will ask. The non-duality is proved by the strength of logic only and not by experience, for there is no example to support the logical deduction. If this is your question, the teacher replies, your objection regarding lack of proper example is great indeed and similar to my opinion. See, he is not undermining the student. He is saying absolutely correct. You have caught me that I told you something and I did not give you an example about it. Because there is no relative example which can ever prove the existence of a reality. It is correct. What you are talking in my language now. So suddenly he has taken him to his side. Similar to my opinion. In that case, please let us know your example for experience for non-duality. Anubhutihi na drishtantah na, the teacher continues. You said that I was trying to establish the Advaita Tattva only by logic and not by experience, and it is not supported by any example. Iti yuktihi tu sadrishtantatva pakshe me matam. In this regard, you belong to my opinion. If you do want to give an example, then give me the example by which Advaita Siddhi can be proved. Yes, I can't give you an example, but you tell me if it can be, if there is any example. The teacher is by this discussion trying to show how there is no authority possible for Advaita Siddhi because I is beyond the purview of logic. I is self-established. I is self-knowing. I is self-effulgent. I is self-luminous. No scriptures, no Mahatma, no object of this creation can ever illuminate or make you experience the self. So don't get lost running after Mahatmas. Don't get lost running after scriptures. Don't get lost running after temples. Because the answer is here. It's not out there anywhere. Until it doesn't go deep into your psyche, till then continue. Keep chanting. You have to pass time somehow, so keep doing it, but do everything or let everything happen in the presence of awareness. Be aware of everything. Be aware or not of everything, be aware of the self. Don't shortchange that. Whether you are talking, whether you are driving, whether you are eating, whether you are working, whether you are walking, whether you are cooking, everywhere, every time the self is available. How many times do you ask the question that the cooking is taking place in my presence? Yes. If you ask that question, then, the seeing that the cooking is taking place is also happening in my presence. Oh, the one who's thinking, because the stimuli of cooking are coming through the eyes and knowing that the cooking is taking place is also happening in my presence. In this way, have you fallen back? You don't need that journey, but initial stages, it will help you to come back to yourself. See? The teacher is by this discussion trying to show how there is no authority possible or required for Advaita Siddhi. Why? The self is self-established. The non-dual reality is self-established. There is no logic, there is no scientific formula, there is no equations. You may do all this. This is the distance from earth to the sun. This must be the amount of heat which is coming from the sun. If there is a solar flare, the temperature on the earth increases and we go around the sun. Therefore, there is day and night and therefore there is sun. This is our lot. Where is our attention? On our relative experience. And from the relative experience, we want to prove, because there is day and night, because sometimes there is various seasons, there is sun. It's the other way around. Because there is sun, there is everything else taking place. And from the sun's point of view, there is no day and night. It has got no idea of what is light and what is darkness, because it is its nature. And darkness is not an object. Absence of light is darkness. Space is not an object. Absence of objects is space. This is still graduation. You have reached, if you understand this, you have done your graduate degree. But if you want to do PhD, then you have to understand that there is nothing called space which is equal to unmanifest. There is only absolute unmanifest. There is nothing called unmanifest. Because I is beyond the purview of logic. Since the student is getting lost in logic, he has to be helped to come out of the entanglement which he himself has created. This teacher himself has written so much logically the entire text of Pancadasi, isn't it? if you read his biography, somewhere I read about, not read, heard from some Swamiji, that he wanted to, how he has come to understand or come to realize the self. He wanted to logically present it to the world, to his mind, and therefore Pancadasi came about. That no iota of doubt is left when he was penning it down. And whatever the doubt, the student was the mind and he was the teacher. The self is the teacher. And he is making that dialogue. And as he had studied everything, he had meditated along, he was a very, very wise man. The student tries to rise to the challenge. Advaita pralayo dvaitan upalambhena suptivat iti chet suptiradvaiteti iti chet suptiradvaiteti iti chet suptiradvaiteti atra drishtantamiraya atra drishtantamiraya. The state of total dissolution is non-dual because of lack of duality. The student is giving he's trying to bring a point to the teacher that I have understood, don't try to take me for a ride. The state of total dissolution, what is state of total dissolution? Deep sleep is a pralaya. The state of total dissolution is non-dual because of lack of duality. In deep sleep there is no duality, as is seen in the deep sleep state. If this is an example quoted to establish non-duality in deluge, just as in deep sleep, let us know, how do you establish non-duality in deep sleep? If this is the example quoted to establish non-duality in deep sleep, just as in the deep sleep, let us know, how do you establish non-duality in deep sleep? The teacher is asking that, how do you establish non-duality? The teacher is asking because the student gave the example of deep sleep as a non-dual state. So he is saying, how did you establish that it's a non-dual state? Now be very, very attentive as we go through this process now. The teacher is asking, how did you establish that deep sleep is equal to a non-dual state?
When you woke up, you said you...
Wait, no, we are not into all that right now. Just understand the question right now. Deep sleep state is a state where the duality is absent. Agree? Duality is caused by thoughts. Thoughts are absent. How did you determine that it is a non-dual state? Don't answer, just keep it in your mind, whatever the conclusion is, and see if it comes to the same conclusion. The pralaya avastha, or the total dissolution, is dvaita rahita, that means without duality. It is pure advaita. There is no experience of duality as in deep sleep. This is your example. Suptihi advaita iti atra drishtantam traya. The teacher replies, please give an illustration to support your statement that there is no duality in deep sleep. Please give me an example. Please give me some simile that there is no duality present in deep sleep. See now what the student comes with the answer. Now in this example of deep sleep, the point that follows is, whose deep sleep? Yours or of somebody else's? So the student says, somebody else's deep sleep. So with this thought we will conclude today. दृष्टांत परसुप्तिश्चेत् अहो ते कौशलं महत् यस्वसुप्तिं न वेत्यस्य परसुप्तौ तु का कथा. If you are quoting an example of deep sleep of others, bravo. Great indeed is your intelligent expertise. He who does not know his own deep sleep, how can he know the deep sleep of others? What to talk about you and your experience? The teacher asked, in this example of deep sleep that you have given, where you say there is total absence of duality, therefore non-duality in the deep sleep state, are you talking about your own deep sleep or somebody else's? The student has not answered. The student says, the illustration is of the deep sleep of others. The teacher responds, you are indeed very intelligent. यह स्वसुप्तिम न वेत्ति अस्य परसुप्तौ का कथा. What to talk about others? Do you know your experience of deep sleep? That you are talking about other people's deep sleep. You have no knowledge about yourself in deep sleep, because in deep sleep there is total absence of knowledge of the self and others. How then can you know about what is happening in somebody else's deep sleep?
That's a good question.
It's not the question is put now by the teacher to the student, or the question is put to your mind.
Why the student said about others, Swami?
He's confused, that's why.
Why did he say others?
No, it is just said in the verse. It is not there.
Yeah.
In the verse, it is not
Yes,
there.
yes.
But the way the verse is going in the second line of the Yah Swasuptim Nach Vetyasya Parasupto Tu Ka Katha, you don't even know your own deep sleep. What to talk about others' deep sleep? That he has not said yes or no. The teacher is saying, if you are talking about others' deep sleep, do you know your own that you are talking about others? The dialogue continues. निश्चेष्टत्वात् परसुप्तोः ष्टत्वात् परसुप्तोः यथाहमिति चेत्तदा उदाहर्तु सुषुप्तेस्ते स्वप्रभत्वं बलात् भवेत्. Other person is in deep sleep can be inferred from his being without any activity, as when I am in deep sleep, I am devoid of activities. So the student is now answering. In the previous verse he did not answer. Now his teacher preempted what could be the two options, your deep sleep or others. And if you don't know yours, how can you know others? So now the student is responding. He says that when I am in deep sleep, I am still and without any activity. If this is so, in my case, in the same way when I see others in deep sleep, I can infer that in deep sleep there is absence of duality, and therefore it is Advaitam. This is how our mind gets into muddle. This is how people go into deep sleep on the seat of meditation and come out thinking that they attained Brahmanhood. And they say they were meditating, but actually they experienced deep sleep. Tada udahartu sushupteste swaprabhatvam balad bhavet. The teacher replies to this, in that case, you who is giving an example of your own deep sleep have to accept the self-illumined nature in deep sleep. See where the conclusion has come? We know because we have studied. But see the systematic way how the teacher is bringing it to the recognition of the student. the teacher is quick to pick up this point and turn it around. In the example you have just given of the Sushupti Avastha, the deep sleep state, you have yourself accepted on the strength of your own example that in deep sleep there is no Dvaitam, that in deep sleep there is no duality. And for that no logic is required. There is no logic required because there is no thought, it's your experience. Therefore no logic is required. In the same way, in Advaita Tattva there is Sukham, and for that no logic is required. Wherever there is no logic required, it is bliss. Wherever there is thought, there is an experience, it cannot be bliss. It has to be an experience-less experience. So when you are eating food, as long as it is outside of you, the smell, the fragrance, the touch, the colors, it will all make you joyful. But it is not it is not still become one with you. But when you are standing outside the shop, you put money into your pocket, no money, but the gulab jamun is there, or the sweetmeats are there, food is there. But when that food goes into your mouth and becomes one with you, the sense of fulfillment that it is there, the happiness, can it be calculated by money? Can it be calculated? Is that happiness that you are experiencing because the food has become one with you, is it equal to what your eyes are looking at? Cannot be. Can you explain that? You only say, that's all that comes out. और उसके बाद क्या? Therefore, one can establish without any logic and without anyone certifying that in Sushupti Avastha, one is in a state of non-dual existence. The student protests, how do you say that I have accepted that this statement is perforce proved? Because the teacher turned his statement around, because he said that because it is my experience that I am still, there is no thoughts, and therefore others also, when they must be sleeping, they are having no thoughts, they are still, they don't know that they are the body, what time of the day it is, etc., etc., etc. So it must be the non-dual experience. It is the experience of bliss. He says exactly the same way. In Advaita Tattva also, there is no experience required. So here, this is the last one we will do. Nendriyani na drishtantaha tathapyangi karoshitam idameva swaprabhatvam yadbhanam sadhanairvina. You accept the deep sleep state, although there are neither sense organs nor a mutually acceptable example to prove your experience. Therefore, the knowledge which is gained without any means of knowledge is naturally self-illumined. So, in deep sleep state, the senses were not available, the mind was not available, the intellect was not available, and yet experience of non-duality took place. That there was a state of, that nothing was there. So it is possible. And that knowledge is free of logic. It is free of logic. Therefore, that knowledge which is gained without any means of knowledge is naturally self-illumined. In this way, you have accepted self-illumined status of deep sleep. Till you don't accept this, statement, this last statement, till then deep sleep state is a state of nothingness. Till then, deep sleep state is a state where we have told ourselves, scriptures have told us that mind manifests and mind unmanifests. Unmanifest state is the deep sleep state. It is only, we use that statement only till we come to this point. When you recognize that it is a self-illumined state and I am the one who is illuminating, over. In deep sleep state, there are no indriyas, that is senses, they are all disassociated. There is no example with which you can compare, since the mind and senses are not functioning. In spite of this, without any means of knowledge, because they are absorbed in their own non-existence, you accept that in deep sleep there is bliss. Sadhanai vina yad bhanam idam eva swaprabhatvam. In the same way, Advaita Siddhi, the experience of the non-dual reality, is self-established without the need of logic and without any example. So what do you, they're talking about you, huh? So all this rigmarole that is going on at the intellectual level for us, all the studies of scriptures, it's only to come to this point that the self is beyond logic. But till this itch is there within our mind that I have to know, I have to become self-realized, till then keep studying. To study what? To come to know that it is beyond studying, it is beyond logic, it is beyond words, that it is beyond experience. And therefore the first step in our sadhana, live in the world, how? Without disturbing the world, without getting disturbed by the world. How do you disturb the world? By your thought, word and deed. How do you get disturbed? By other people's thought, word and deed. Make yourself immune. Live with awareness. Automatically the world will stop having an impact on you. Then the second stage, don't be a challenge to yourself. Live a disciplined life. Let not your mind become a problem to itself. And this second stage that you will not appreciate this second stage, because this is what is happening in this second stage. So that our mind does not become a problem to ourselves, we go to satsangs. Isn't it? How to think, how to be successful, how to win in the world, how to be the master of the world. All this is at the level, because if I am the master of the world, then the world cannot disturb me. I can make or break the world. See? But there also there is consequence. So how do you deal with yourself with yourself? At the physical level, it's okay. Yoga, voga, pranayam, also pranayam at the breath level. But when you come to the mind, the only way to deal with the mind is by study of scriptures. That is the re-education of the mind that is taking place. But does that have anything to do with establishing the truth? No. Truth is self-established. Truth is self-existent. Recognize this and yet do everything. Because not do everything, let everything happen. That is what is actually happening. So the student says, even if Advaita Tattva is established in deep sleep, it does not prove that Advaita non-dual is Sukha Swarupa. Stam Dvaita Swaprabhatve. Stam Dvaita Swaprabhatve. Vada Suptau Sukham Katham. Vada Suptau Sukham Katham. Shruno dukkham tada nasti, Shruno dukkham tada nasti, Tataste shishyate sukham, Te shishyate sukham. Let the non-duality and self-illumined nature be proved in deep sleep. How about happiness? If this is your objection, please listen. In deep sleep there is no sorrow, hence the happiness is naturally proved for your understanding. Have you proved happiness in deep sleep? No. You are, because there is no sorrow in deep sleep, therefore there must be, I experienced happiness. But you were not there to experience it also. In deep sleep you were not there having an experience because the Triputi was missing. Mind was not there. Senses were not there. See? So absence of sorrow is equal to happiness. If you are shunting between happiness and joy, sukham and dukkham, misery and joy, then that is not happiness. We are talking about absolute joy is called happiness. Limited happiness is called joy. In that sense we are taking. The student asks that in the deep sleep there is advaita or absence or duality which is self-effulgent. I agree. However, how can it be established that there is sukham in the deep sleep? The teacher replies, listen, in deep sleep there is no misery. Therefore, what remains is sukham, what remains is happiness. So, by the parishesha nyaya, the existence of bliss in deep sleep is established. Because there is no misery, then it is bliss. And this is your experience every night when you go to sleep and wake up. And I don't know if I should continue. No. What does he say? Anyway, enough till here. So what is the total essence of today's satsang? Tell.
You don't need logic to prove. And that is a natural state.
You don't need logic.
To approach.
The self non-duality is a natural state. Non-duality or the self is the natural state. Same?
How the bliss happening?
Bliss is happening all the time. How you cannot establish how.
It's a subjective. That's what we
They still not said how.
Yeah.
They have not still answered. They have not answered.
Where is coming from?
It is not coming from anywhere. It is not going anywhere. It is of the nature of the self. It is not coming and going. If it is coming and going, then it is joy, and that joy will lead to sorrow also. Because sometimes it is there, and if it goes, it is not there. When it is not there, then sorrow. So, it is self-established, it is self-effulgent, it is an experience-less experience. Non-duality is of the nature of happiness because there is no sorrow present in that state, just like in the deep sleep. And for all this, the logic is not required. The whole, even though we were through logic, we came to this point that it is free of logic. So we are teaching the mind that you think you are intelligent, my dear friend, but think in this way. Now what has it come to? What conclusion has the mind come to? That it cannot conclude anything. I keep saying, always think of such thoughts which do not lead to any conclusion. Infinity, eternity, all pervasiveness, supporter of all, more unborn, undying, and contemplate on them. This is another way the teacher has used the words, used the logic,
To say
and
that
to
logic is
bring a
necessary.
point, to bring our mind to a point that it cannot think anymore. If you have come to this conclusion as a result of this, that the non-duality is not a result of some thinking. Deep sleep is not a result of something. Happiness is not a result, because the experiencer experienced and experience itself is absent. In deep sleep it is absent, in the self also it is absent. Just like you come to know deep sleep, you know without knowing. You know it without knowing. There is no triputi there, yet you know. Exactly the same way. The self also knows itself without knowing. There is no, what you call, a relay of thoughts in order to establish it. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Just sit quietly for 2-3 minutes.